mutta kenestä me Jussi puhutaan tällä hetkellä?
Joo, seuraava puhuja niin saa ainakin meikäläisellä niin goosebumpsit niin pintaa, että niin huikea puhuja. Ensimmäisen kerran kun kuulin, kun silloin aloitin Zinzinossa ja kävin katsomassa hänen puheita ja muuten, että okei, että nyt ollaan niin oikeiden asioiden äärellä ja aivan ahtavan inspiroiva, voimaannuttava ja todellinen niin supernainen. Please give a warm welcome to our co-founder and one-star global president, Hilde Rismyhr-Saele.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in the back of a quite big room in a conference hall in Oslo, in the center of Oslo. And on stage there was a man. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember how he looked like. But I remember this, that during that hour, I decided that I wanted to do this business. It was like my dream, my goal was painted right on the wall behind him. I was so excited. I was so hungry. I had a very short-term plan. I would contact a few people, get them started. They would crush it, and I would live happily ever after. Now, for those of you that have been an entrepreneur for a little while, or maybe you've been building your Zinzino business, you know that it's not always exactly how it usually goes. Even though we do have examples in our company that are young and that have built it very fast to the top. I was actually having a meeting earlier this week. I was having a meeting with one of our leaders, Christopher Camras. I think he's now 24 years old. He started when he was 19. Today, he's like a black ambassador, really crushing it, doing an amazing job, having above 50,000 customers in his team. But usually, there is always a story behind the story. Now, for me, my journey started within this profession when I was 20 years old. I had just moved to Oslo to study law. I came from a small little island, actually on the west coast of Norway. And there I was, presented this incredible opportunity of direct selling, network marketing. You know, I saw that I could do this. At least I felt, you know, I really want to do this, right? But I had absolutely zero experience within sales. Closest I got was actually that I had been selling suits to men in a clothing store. That was basically my experience within sales. I had no experience from building a team. I had zero leadership experience. When I was approached with this opportunity, I was living in a student home, in a dorm, and I borrowed the money to have the money to invest in my starter kit. So there was where I got started. But I was hungry and I was willing to learn. And I think that was probably good because the first person that I started quit. The second one quit. The third one quit. The fourth one, well, we worked a little bit for a while and then she kind of quit too. Great start. Now, some of you might think to yourself, but maybe you had some kind of a hidden talent. Well, the story was worse. The story was this. My first month, I had 70 presentations. 63 people said no. 7 said yes, and then 3 out of the 7 returned their kits. I was left with the 4, and I already told you how it went with the 4. So that was kind of how I got started. That was my brilliant start within this incredible profession. But luckily, I understood that, and it was actually quite early on, I think around month 4, I understood that if I was going to have any single shot of succeeding with this profession, I had to make myself my most important project. I had to work on my social skills. I had to work on my relationship skills. I had to work on my knowledge with all of the different products. I had to understand the system. And more than that, I had to really understand the profession of direct selling, because it was only through that understanding of the profession that I could actually develop the attitude and the pride towards this business, so I could go out and present this business with a different posture. So about month 4, I committed myself to 2 things. To read 10 pages every single day, to study, to learn, and then to have 10 meetings every single week. Now, one of my mentors, his name was Miles Monroe. He unfortunately doesn't live today, but he usually said this: you can measure the wealth of a family by the size of their library. And I was lucky to grow up in a home where both my mom and dad was readers. Literally every single day, I remember my mom and my dad, they were sitting with a book. And usually they were not necessarily just reading novels or something like that. They were reading about things that they really, were interested in, specific skills that they had to develop. My dad was, and still is today, a doctor, and my mom a nurse. So that was usually the areas that they were reading in. And I understood then, because I had been programmed that belief from I was very young, that, if you're going to master something, you better acquire the knowledge. So 10 pages is obviously not so much to brag about. But a small little thing like that, 10 pages a day, what can it do over time? Now, you've probably at one point heard some of people within Zinzino, within the Finnish group, talk about the slight edge philosophy, right? It's really the small things that we do or don't do every day that makes a difference. Are you with me? It's the small things that are easy to do or easy not to do that really determine where you are today, because it multiplies. It's also going to be those small little decisions that you do or don't do that also will determine where you are 5 or 10 years from now. So the 10 pages a day, I committed myself to. Very often it was late in the evening after I had been reading all of the other things that I'd had to read as a law student. And after a month you've read, and you've probably heard this example before, but I really want you to get this. You've read 365 pages. You've probably read a book. After a year, maybe you've read 10 books, something like that. But after 5 years, if you just continue that small little habit, for some of you, it takes like 15 minutes. For some, it's going to take 30 minutes. But after 5 years, you've read 18,250 pages. And I can tell you that makes a big difference. If you've been involved in the profession over 20 years as myself, you've suddenly read over 70,000 pages. And if you've read about how to do this business masterfully, how to work with nutrition, how to work on your mindset, how to treat your money with respect and have them grow, there is a slight chance that you're going to see that also on your results. But again, I would never be on this stage here today. I would never have the honor to speak with you today if it wasn't so that I was out doing the meetings. And this is the first thing that I really want you to get from this speech here of mine. And I'm going to see you also after the break. But I want you to write down this. personal versus professional development. I think that very often we don't necessarily have an understanding of this in full when we start to do this business. You know, personal development is important because you have to work on your mindset, your thinking, your character, very often your self-image. But it doesn't necessarily build your business if you don't do the professional development. So the professional side of it all is really when you work on the knowledge that you specifically have to acquire to really do this business well. And that's a combination of acquiring the knowledge when it comes to our different products, like the brilliant presentations that was just done here about the Hans and Heidi products, right? About the balance concept, about the health protocol. When you really dig into the numbers and you look at the Zinzino as a company, you understand our company. And you see that this company has been growing every single year. It creates a proudness over it all to go out and present something like that to your friends and the people around you, right? It requires that you dig into the facts about direct sales, network marketing. How long has it existed? How many people are involved over the globe, you know? How much is the turnover? When you know all of these different facts, you know that it's not just a group here in Finland that are doing this. You understand that this is actually a quite big profession and that you can actually do something magnificent for yourself if you choose to treat this business professionally. It means that you acquire the skills about the system, how to do powerful presentations, how to open a presentation, how to close a presentation, how to schedule the meetings. That's the bottleneck for most people. You know, you have to get across that fear. That's the combination with the personal development side, right? You have to move beyond that fear of, what would that person think if I'm contacting him or her? You know, but you do it anyway, but also learn, how can I word myself? How can I do this the way that I'm comfortable doing it and scheduling the meetings? How will I follow up? How should I work this business online? How can I work this business offline? But again, studying and becoming professional is not just about reading in this manner. Because the best way to learn it is if you read and you practice. You read and you practice. And you read and you practice. You know, earlier this year, we had a leader conference in our company. We call it Leader School. It was in the beginning of the summer. And at that specific conference, we had the topic grit. And grit, it's a difficult word, you know. How do you translate that into something meaningful? How do you define it? But the way I define grit is really as follows. I define it as your decisiveness, your willingness to develop your character, how you resolve when the going gets tough. Because we all have, if you have a goal, you have a mountain to climb, right? And obviously, to get to the top of that mountain, you have to continue. However, I hear a lot of people, they say, this is my brilliant advice. Just don't quit. But if you don't do anything, you won't get to the top. Sorry for screaming here. So you have to, yes, just don't quit, but continue to do the pipeline every single week. That's the magic. You continue to do the pipeline every single week. You continue to schedule meetings. You continue to present. You continue to follow through. You continue to course correct. You continue to bring them to the business opportunity meetings. You continue to bring them to the BPSs, the events, so that they learn and that they grow, and you do it yourself. And if you do that, if you continue, and you work on the slight edge, the things that is easy to do, the things that is easy not to do, but you choose to do it every single week. And on top of it all, you decide to reinvent yourself in the process, course correct, constantly become a little bit better. Well then, my friend, you reach your goal. Simple as that. Right after summer, I had a visit from Sweden over to our house. Some of our leaders from Sweden, Kerstin and Tim Öhman, ambassadors in Zinzino, been with us from start, and we had this very nice coaching day. And at one point, we were out having lunch, and Kerstin on the way back, as we walked in this beautiful weather, so happy when it's sun in Norway. So we walked over, and she suddenly looks at me and she says, Hilde, what is your core motivation today? What drives you? And I was saying to her, you know what, Kerstin, I can't really say one thing. Because obviously, Orion and myself, we have a lot of different goals that we work towards. Like, it really excites me that we're on the way of reaching 1 million customers. It excites me that we have a plan of reaching 100 million customers and getting them in balance, right? It excites me. It excites me that we are leading the test-based nutrition space, that we are the one that knows the most actually about essential fatty acid balance between omega-6 and omega-3 in the world today. We are the ones that have the most data. It excites me. It also excites me that we're building this business globally now, and I constantly have to think, you know, if I'm speaking with someone in India, I have to conduct myself differently than if I speak with someone in Thailand or in somewhere else, you know. I think that it's the process that's exciting. But what truly excites me at core is probably the stories. The stories, the transformational stories, you know, of people getting their health changed and also their finances changed because of our company. So I think that there is a lot of different things that I can tell you here today. But what I'd like to focus the ending part of this first speech here today is to tell you some stories. Because I think that it's really the stories that builds our business. And, you know, within Zinzino today, we have a lot of people that are earning quite good money. But on the top of the producer list or the credit list every single month is usually a few 5 people that are competing to be the top 2, 3, 5, like that. And on the top is a lady from Norway called Camilla. And, you know, she got introduced to direct sales when she was in her early 20s. And at the time, she was a single mom. She had a daughter. And she didn't really have a support network around her. Her mom, unfortunately, passed away when she was fairly young. I think she was 15. She passed away from cancer. And she didn't really know her biological dad. She grew up with her mom's boyfriend that kind of was her dad, but when her mom died, he just left. Suddenly, he just moved abroad. So Camilla was there on her own, together with her younger brother. That was her situation. She didn't really have a support network around her. Now, as she got introduced to direct sales, I think that she's studying at the time and she's juggling a few jobs to get, you know, the finances to work. And I think we all have sometimes some defining moments. And her defining moments, at least the way she explains it, is that one day she's out grocery shopping with her daughter. And I think her daughter is probably 3 or something like that at the time. And by the cashier in Norway, and you probably have the same here in Finland, there is a lot of magazines. and children magazines. So her daughter picks up like a princess magazine that she wants her mom to buy for her. Probably costs like 2-3 euros. Now, I can relate to this because I have children myself. 3 to be specific. And especially my 4-year-old, Sarah, she loves those magazines. So every time when we're out grocery shopping, she would put a stack of them and come over and try to negotiate her way to get them. And usually I say no, and sometimes I let her pick one. But the reason why Camilla could not buy or had to say no was because she didn't have the 2 to 3 euros. Now, this became such an incredible moment for her where she was like, I'm never going to be in this situation again. I refuse to be in such a position again. And she started to build her business. Now, years went by and she got another daughter and another son. And very often, you know how it is, sometimes you have to structure all of the different things with babysitters, coordinate, sometimes being out in the evenings, weekends. And it wasn't necessarily always easy because I think that we all have to make certain sacrifices along the way to reach our targets, right? It's the same for all of us. In 2015, she gets introduced to Zinzino. She believes in test-based nutrition. She believes that this is the future. So she decides to join in. And today, she's one of our top people with one of the highest ranks in Zinzino. And she has about 100,000 customers in her team. Now, there is probably a lot of different lessons that we can learn from this specific story, but I believe that one of the most important lessons is this. When you know why you are doing this business, you become unstoppable. Now, some of you that was on the event, attending the event in Sweden here recently, you saw her on stage. She was the MC. She was speaking a little bit on one of the recognition. And maybe you thought to yourself, oh, she's probably born into that. I know her story. I know the road. I know the ups. I know the downs. And what it really tells me is that if she can do this, you can do this. The question is, do you have the why to do this business? In 2007, I was having a conversation with one of our leaders from Denmark, Peter Sorensen. And he was at a point where he felt that he wanted so much more in his business. He felt that it was going a little bit too slow. I think that we've all been in the situation where we feel, I really want to speed up the growth, right? And it wasn't so that he was doing bad. He was at, I think at the time, around 700 customers. And he had been working for a few years, and it was growing constantly, but he wanted more. Now, I don't remember exactly what triggered it, but he decided on the following. He decided, if I'm going to get to my goals, and he had a specific goal for himself that he said to himself was 7,000 customers. So if I'm going to get to that goal, I have to really be reminded about that goal constantly. So what he decided to basically put the number 7,000 everywhere around his house. So he had the number 7,000 on the refrigerator. He had the 7,000 in the bathroom. I remember very well because I was there several times. He had the number 7,000 in this living room, on his steering wheel of the car. It was like right in front of him when we were out doing meetings. He had the number 7,000 on the screensaver, on his phone, everywhere, even in the ceiling over Pernilla in his bed was the number 7,000. I think it was in 2012 he first passed 7,000 customers in his team. And I remember that when we had to move one of our educations from being live to online in the spring of 2020, I told this story for the very first time. And when I went into his back office at that time and I looked at the numbers, guess what? He had just passed 100,000 customers. Now today, he has around 180,000 customers. So what sometimes feels very slow at first, well, when you really get traction and when you submerge yourself into what you actually want to accomplish, crazy things can happen. And again, several tips from that story too, but I really do believe that you will always be the sum total of your most dominant thoughts. So you better be aware, where is your focus? Last story, also a gal from Scandinavia. Vibeke, our partner of the year at the annual event this year. You know, when she was introduced to Zinzino, she had some prior experience from direct sales, but she had kind of put it on the shelf, decided, I'm not going to do that anymore. So she had a leader job, very well-paid leader job. She was considered, I would say that most people around her would probably say she has a perfect life. She's doing so extraordinarily well. Together with her husband, she has 4 kids, and 2 of them are professional tennis players, which basically means that they are on the road a lot. So there is a lot of things happening in their calendar. But when she looked at Zinzino, she was like, I can't really let this go. Because for a long time, she had been feeling that she had a dream of building an international business. And specifically, she was drawn towards Germany. Now, she's educated a physiotherapist, and she did she went to university in Germany, so that was probably where she got Germany from. So she got started. The only challenge was that most of the people that she knew from her student days, they didn't live there anymore, right? So they had moved. And a lot of the other people she hadn't really been in contact with for many, many years. And I remember this specific time for Vibeke, because it wasn't so easy, you know, juggling this leader job and 4 kids and all of the other things that she had to, you know, take care of as a mom and for her family to run. And then obviously doing meetings between other meetings and being very disciplined. She was disciplined to the bone, but still there was no breakthrough. And she was like, I really want to get Germany going. Now, finally, she decides the following. I'm going to build local. And through my local network, I will hopefully find someone that knows someone in Germany. And that's what she does. So she starts to build locally. And at one point, she signs up a 70-year-old doctor. And through him, Germany is a fact. And she starts to treat his contacts as it is her own. She was working generations in depth, scheduling meetings with them, getting them started, helping them with the presentations. And I think 7 generations down, she meets Jutta Bulke, that today is one of our biggest thriving leaders in Germany. And today, the German market is the fastest growing market and the biggest market in Zinzino. Very often I meet a lot of people that says, well, I just want to build an international business. I want to build globally, you know. And I think that, you know, that's an incredible opportunity. But I also do believe this, that you have to build it organically. The potential here in Finland is extraordinarily big. And through building it locally and then expanding it regionally and then expanding it nationally, well, suddenly you will have those contacts all over the globe. That will take you places that you didn't know that there was people before you got started. And I think that Vibeke's story is such a great example of exactly that. I hear so many people that says, you know, if I just had these contacts, if I just knew that person, then I would be successful. No, you work the list you have, And then you work the list of your team. So you always start with what you have. And again, very often you'll be surprised by what incredible people your people that you know actually knows. But you have to start to do that work and show that proudness and attitude toward what you have between your hands. Last story. A while back, I was receiving a phone call from a partner of mine that said, he just canceled. What do you say? I said, he just canceled. Oh, so irritated. Okay, what do you mean? Do you mean the second look that we're going to have? I said, yeah, just canceled. Okay, and you've tried to rebook the second look? Yes, he said, I didn't succeed. Okay, phone me in. So he three-wayed me in to this man, and I don't remember exactly what I said to get him to meet us again, but something I probably said. Anyway, we had the meeting. I got the meeting. And obviously, in a follow-through, you talk about a lot of different things. You would talk about what their goals are in life, what motivates them, what they are excited about. And then you would maybe ask them, so what's the first thing that you would like more information about when it comes to our business? I think we went into the product and what separated us from conventional omega-3 products. And then we went a little bit more into the pay side of it all, the commission. And then his biggest kind of skepticism was towards direct selling as a profession. And obviously, we had been building relationship during this whole meeting and also the prior meetings. But I said, okay, you know, this networking thing that you call it, that was the words that he used. Well, we're a publicly listed company. We have no debt. We've been growing every year. We're profitable. We're delivering products to 100 countries. We're officially open in 40 countries. We have over 1,000 people in our company today that are making a full-time living from their paycheck. And we have so many thousands of people that are making an extra check. Now, if I look at the networking profession in general, you know, there is about 100 million people involved in this profession globally. And last numbers I checked, I think was about that the turnover in the business was about $190 billion. You know, this networking thing has really changed my life. And it's changed so many of my friends' life. And I actually do believe that according to what you said and all of the different things that you mentioned was motivating to you, it has the power to change your life as well. Now, he became a partner. Now, my point is this. I don't know where you are in this room here today. I don't know your situation. I don't know why you are here. But what I do know is this. Zinzino can change your life. If you use Zinzino as the vehicle to get your dreams, you can change your life. And I really do hope that the next time that I'm coming back here to Finland, I will be on this stage or even in a bigger room and tell your success story. Thank you so much and see you after the break.